All right, welcome back to the War Room. I'm here with Bert and Thomas, and we are here to get back into the swing of things, get into some college football. It's been too long, guys. I'm so happy to be back. That's all I have to say at this point. We've had so much change going on and running around like crazy. Bert's having to record this in daggum, middle of nowhere, in a daggum Hotel 6 probably. Who knows? But by God, we're here. And that's all that matters. Guys, a lot of things we're going over today, but today we're mainly previewing the SEC, if I remember that correctly, which in that itself feels like half of college football. So we're being a little more specific, but really not at the same time, because in typical Southern bias fashion, I think more than half of the entire college football story is going to run through this conference.
The entire part of it is, man. Screw the Big Ten.
Okay, so maybe I'm maybe the second least biased person on this show. So there we go. And I'm not afraid to show my SEC bias because the SEC is the Lord's conference, and I'll die on that hill.
I think I'm the only one actually repping the SEC right now.
Look, I'm behind on laundry. Okay, so
there's some people that said the conference went downhill when y'all joined. So.
Well,
we can all agree that it went downhill even more when the freaking ding-dongs from Austin came. So
2011 was the peak of the SEC and their members.
That's also the peak of
statistically. That's not the
Mississippi
case.
State's football program, and never has seen the
Remind me
when
when you guys or Missouri or Texas or Oklahoma won the national championship.
Remind me of the last time you guys have won more than 7 games. Yeah. Okay. Moving along.
The silence is deafening. That would be 2014 with Dak Prescott. That would have to be for sure, and then probably a 9.
Actually, I believe it was 2019.
Okay, I'm about to say for sure 2014.
I just want to say the fact that he had to think about that is pretty bad.
Yes.
I just want to say that.
I mean, the fact that you lost a playoff game at home is pretty pathetic too.
I would rather have lost a playoff game knowing that I made the playoffs.
How many points did y'all score?
Then get a pity bowl game. Think they got in because of a technicality into a bowl.
All I'm gonna say is my season ended after y'all's.
Yeah, sure. You played in the Tax Slayer Liberty Credit Union. Insert crypto sponsor bowl here.
All right. You want to get into it? Let's get into it. Let's look at y'all's schedule from last year, shall we? You played the bottom half of the conference, and you're sitting here like you won something.
Oh my gosh,
we lost one game, and it was to Texas. Oh my gosh. Let's go back and look at this. Do we want to go down this pathway, you freaking losers? Okay.
Sure.
Your schedule from last year. UTSA, wow. Utah State, Notre Dame, Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, Texas. Oh my gosh. You want to know who's not in that schedule? Georgia. You want to know who's not in that schedule? Ole Miss. You want to know who's not in that schedule? Oklahoma. Those are all the teams that made the playoff last year. You play them in the regular season, you're not in the playoff.
Yet,
but
we still have as many or more ranked wins than those teams in the SEC.
We can only go off of what we have. We get the schedule, and was it easier? Sure, but that wasn't our
but you're acting
we
like
didn't
you
schedule
want
those.
You're acting like you won a trophy.
I
did nothing last year.
I'm just simply saying we're better than Mississippi State, which isn't really hard to do.
Yeah, because we played people last year. My gosh.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
You guys, no, at the end of the day, it's did you win the trophy? No. Okay, the season was a loss then for both of us.
No, I mean, for the first time in program history, we made the playoff, which was nice. I mean, it was improvement.
Yeah, because you played a fucking ham sandwich.
Well, here's the thing.
We had more ranked wins than half the other teams that made the playoff, mind you.
Oh my! I'm not.
We didn't play ranked teams and get good wins.
Are we arguing about last year or this year?
So talking about ranked.
You win 10 games against the bottom half of the conference, and you act
Talking-
like you have this
Look,
massive
you're just pissed off
successful
because
season.
you had to throw away another year and sit in the cuck chair after we whooped y'all's rear end in our own house. Okay, so just sit down.
Look,
We're-
at the end of
Insert-
the day,
season,
Bert. Insert
we don't
Bert
play each
laying
other
down
anymore. We
fucking
can be nice
pictures.
now.
year was Texas, and you lost.
No.
Insert
hold on. You
Bert
talking about our
laying
ranked
down.
wins?
Had you
flicking
played
off the
Georgia,
TV.
had you played Ole Miss, had you played Tennessee, had you played an actually halfway decent opponent, you would not have had the same record.
We did, and we went 1-1 in those games.
Who?
We beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame.
Oh, yes. I forgot. The magic of Notre Dame. Yes.
I mean,
how dare
their running
they
back-
leave them out of the playoffs.
Their running back just got drafted number 3 overall and became the highest paid running back before
Notre
any
Notre
of the
Dame doesn't
contract
count.
extensions.
Notre Dame does not count, in my opinion. We're talking about the SEC, are we not?
Yes.
I'll
So
tell you what,
speaking
go
of
play-
we're
speaking-
talking about ranked
speaking-
Go play
teams, right?
Alabama. Go
Speak-
play Georgia. Go play.
speaking
go
of
play
ranked
Oklahoma.
teams,
Dude, go say
We
that
should-
to all of the Big Ten, bro, because there are a bunch of teams that don't play each other. They have the same problem, but we still
The
had
Big
a higher
Ten?
strength of
The Big
schedule
Ten?
and strength of record than any of those clowns like Ohio
I'm
State.
not
and them.
arguing about the Big
And
Ten.
we
I
beat
get
number
it.
8
fellas,
Notre Dame, number 2
fellas,
on the road, number 9
fellas,
Missouri on the road.
fellas.
Okay, so we didn't play
Speaking of
nobody. Okay, it is
Speaking
what it
of
is.
ranked teams, we should look at the coaches poll that came out so we can get back to this year. We can say this. Both of our teams washed out last year. But guess what? It's a new year.
And
this-
one of our
we
teams has
have
made the
college-
college football playoff.
We have college football at the end of this month. And our teams are playing at the beginning of next month. So
Hey, and our teams don't play each other for the next 2 years, so we can be nicer to each other.
bigger
Gosh.
and better things.
F y'all, man.
Bigger and better things. So we should
You know,
look
F
at the
y'all.
coaches poll.
Or you're in a
And-
hotel room. Why don't you do the podcast with the cuck chair so you get used to what it's like being a Mississippi football fan?
Ooh.
Have fun losing 5 games this year.
That's what you call coping. So we
gonna have the
Okay,
same
we got to
record
bring it
as
in. We got to bring it in.
You're going to
We got
have
it
the
out.
same record as us.
we
I'm
need
calling
to
it.
look at the coaches poll, especially from the SEC perspective. I mean, I would hear how
Wait,
you
hold,
know,
hold
the-
on one second. Hold on, Thomas. I'm so sorry. Did we just break a record for the fastest crash out on our show?
I think we did.
I think
I looked at the
Immediately-
time. It was
immediately,
3 minutes.
30 seconds in, and it goes into state A&M.
That's your fault, Albert. That is your
was
fault.
my fault.
You got to take ownership for something.
Thomas came at my team. He goes,
What did Thomas say?
You guys win 7 games, and I'm like, half of your wins, like, don't even count. Okay, whatever.
All right, Thomas. I don't know what you did, but sure, I'll put
That
some
was-
of this
that
fault
was a-
on you.
All right,
I'll take it. Whatever.
somebody
all right,
get
we'll be
this
fair.
show back on the rails, please.
All right, Thomas, take over.
Yeah, so we need to first look at the coaches poll that came out, the preseason rankings going into this year, and shocker, basically half of the SEC is in here. I mean, looking top down, again, specifically looking at SEC, we have Georgia at 3, Texas is at 4, we have A&M at 8, Oklahoma at 9,
Oh,
Ole
sorry,
Miss
was that
at
out loud?
10. Alabama at 11. Then we have LSU at 13.
Mississippi State at
which
74 and a half.
LSU at 13. Tennessee at 18. And then we have Missouri at 25. So what? How many SEC teams is that? What, I think 8
Oh
or
my-
9.
You ain't joking, man. Shit.
Was that 8 or 9 teams?
Let's do a quick count. 2,
Somewhere around there.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
10 or 9.
South Carolina's getting votes. Vanderbilt's getting votes. Auburn's getting votes.
Hey, we don't. But
Are we looking at the ESPN preseason coaches poll?
I was looking at USA Today. but,
Regardless,
I mean,
regardless.
it's the same.
it's the entire conference.
essentially, besides the bottom of the barrel, Arkansas and Kentucky. So I guess my question to you guys is, who do you think in this coaches poll is too high, too low? You know, all bias aside.
Shut up, Burton. Hold on. Wait, question. Are we just talking about SEC teams that are in the preseason rankings,
just the
or are we
SEC
talking in general?
Teams.
Okay,
We're talking SEC teams. Unless you guys want to do in general, we can do that too, because we got the whole thing. But
I think let's start with SEC and then we can talk about in general. I think it's only fair since this is an SEC preview.
Okay.
I think personally, I think LSU is too high. My reasoning behind that is, I mean, yes, Lane Kiffin is the head man at LSU. You have Sam Levitt. You got a revamped O-line. Like, you got your left tackle, Jordan Seaton from Colorado. You have Lane Kiffin's daughter's boyfriend, Whit Weeks, man in the middle of the field on the defense and commanding. My thing is that it's year one, and obviously because of NIL, it's a lot. You saw it with Indiana too. The quick turnarounds. I know we get on Bert's nerves about A&M, but A&M is a product of that too. I mean, look at the progression for the first 2 years under Mike Elko, going from poverty, Jimbo Fisher. I believe in his last season finished 7-6, and then they started 8-4. And then they went 11-1 with a college playoff berth, both times contending for a spot in the SEC championship for A&M, right, the last 2 years. So the quick turnarounds is becoming it's becoming easier to turn around a program quickly that is willing to invest in that. However,
but hold on, it's also becoming the expectation.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And I don't think that LSU should be ranked 13. I think, if anything, they should be ranked between the 18, well, maybe more like the 19, 20, 21 range. Because, I mean, you have a lot of hype coming in, obviously. It wouldn't surprise me if they did well, but I do think in some of the first games where they're really going to have some adversity, I think they could see early losses. I think, and again, I know me and Cole are biased, but I think that first game, even though it's in Baton Rouge against A&M, is going to be a lot tougher than people think. And again, it could go either way. Again, Death Valley is probably at night. I don't remember the time. It could be a toss-up, and I feel like that could be the litmus test on how LSU's season could look. But I do think they're a little too high just from the first season expectations.
Let me play devil's advocate here for LSU. LSU has basically gone in and basically completely scrapped their coaching staff. They have scrapped their offense. They've scrapped their defense, and they've said, Lane, come in and do the entire thing your way. And to be honest here, if there's one person who has proven that they are capable of doing that on a year-to-year basis, it's Lane Kiffin. He's done it at Ole Miss multiple years, and he's had success at a program that has not had that level of success before. If there's one person that has shown that they're capable of doing this, it's Lane Kiffin, and he's doing it with more resources at LSU. So I get it. Yeah, Lane's it's a new team, it's a new university, it's a whole new, but there's a lot of hype coming into this thing. The talent is there, the coaching staff is there. I personally have LSU doing pretty well this year. So I get where your reservations are having them at 13. But I think there's an argument to be made that they could be even higher than 13.
But
I think 13 is simply a placeholder right now. They are in the top 25. I just don't know where exactly they're going to be, because it could work out great and they could be, a national champion. They're a national championship contender, are they not?
I wouldn't say, again,
I think TBD.
Yeah, and that's why
that's fair. But I am
think they're
talking
fringe
about
contender.
at the beginning of the season. Are they? If you look at the roster and you look at the coaching staff, are they capable of winning a national championship?
I mean,
now I think there's a large number of teams out there that are capable and in that conversation.
so
They're
but
one
that
of
could
them.
be a handful of, but that could be a handful.
So by
of teams,
capable, do you
though.
mean like just making the playoff? Like
I am talking about there is a world that exists. I mean, this is the preseason, right? Things can change between now and October. There's a world out there that LSU wins the national championship.
So
I
here's
just
what I would
have
say,
the
when we
roster.
say like capable of winning, right? Like
They have the roster and they have arguably one of the best coaches in college football.
so,
And
this
that's
is
taking
what
a
I
lot.
this is what I
By
would
the way,
imagine.
First, I want to say that that statement is heavy because of where Lane Kiffin comes from. So if Bert's saying that,
He's
that's
throwing his bias away.
that's how you know legit this is. But
I'm calling it as I see it, guys.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
get it. Like LSU is a big rival to A&M. I get it. But you have to look at the roster and you have to look at the coaching staff and you have to say this team is arguably one of the
But then
best
I have a
teams
question.
in college football and capable of winning a national
I have a
championship.
question to that.
That's
then. Could
bottom line.
Sure, but could it also? Yes, 100%. They could do really well, and I don't doubt that. But also, you have to look at it from the other side. I mean, A&M has dealt with this through the Jimbo era, where they would have all these again. Portal's different. You can get more established players, but just as an example, you can still bring in all this talent, but it's still something could just not connect, right? There's always that possibility because you're building a whole new roster. So that's why I feel like 13 is too high, and I would get them a little lower. Again, first year expectations. Not saying that they're bad. I mean, they're in the top 25. But it gives them more of a place to grow.
That's
more of a place to work up. Where 13, you're basically again, they're over teams like BYU, who was on the fringe of making the playoff. You had Tennessee, who we're going to get into Tennessee a little bit later, but you have several teams. I still think, and by the way, I just want to say when we talk about the other teams, I don't know how the hell Clemson is even on this list, first and foremost. But
fair enough.
Like there's several teams on here that I feel like I don't think LSU is on the level of Texas Tech, and they're ranked one spot ahead of them. Again, from from looking at it as it is,
They're the only team with 7 wins inside the top 15.
Yeah, and again,
it's
understanding all the buyouts and everything, firing Brian Kelly, roster turnover, yes.
It's a completely guys, it's not the same team as last year.
No,
I
for
get
sure.
It doesn't work out. It doesn't always work out, but it's a completely different team. It's a completely different coaching staff. And you've seen that within 1 year, coaches can go from 6 wins to competing for national championships. Kurt Cignetti did it at Indiana.
Well, let's say this, because Kurt Cignetti,
but he was in the playoff last year.
Yeah, no, they won the championship last year.
He was there
the first year.
Yeah. But then you also have
whatever.
that controversy with the Big Ten, not to get too much into it, of the bottom of the barrel, how they don't play each other particularly. But
that's not happening in the SEC now.
But
not anymore because you got a 9-game schedule, 9-game in conference schedule. So that's going to change things.
I look at every SEC schedule now, and I'm just like, if you go undefeated in that schedule, like everybody has somebody that they have to play that sucks.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
granted,
my...
not all schedules are built the same. Still, I mean, we can talk about that later. But
so
with my
here's
team,
here's my overall thing when it comes to LSU. It's not that they don't have the talent. There's a ton of teams in this top 25 that have talent on paper. That on paper, it's like, oh, this is a roster that is capable, right? And when we talk about capable of contending for national championship, let's just put that as in they're going to finish in the top 12. They're going to be in the playoff. Like that, like. There's going to be a lot of guys that are capable. I'd say that is like, if we're using a metric, like, do they have a chance at being in the top 12 at the end of the season, and do we think they will? That's my metric. I think they're capable. I think 13 is okay to rank them. I think it's a little high for them being a team that, yes, it's a brand new team. Yes, there's going to be a lot of turnover. But when you talk about a team that over the last 6-7 years has yet to even make an appearance in the college football playoff, And,
2019.
excuse me. Sorry, I'm thinking of Clemson in regards to like the last couple years. But no, with LSU, you're talking about a team that over the last 4 or 5 years, I did do the math right. Over the last 4 or 5 years, has yet to make an appearance in the college football playoff. There's been some common characteristics with that, and it also comes with the exit of Tommy Moffitt. This is a team that LSU's identity has typically been with being able to have that strength and conditioning be a lot of their identity, right? And they were out physical people in a very physical conference. And over the last 4 or 5 years, pretty much since that 2019 team, we've seen that decline a little bit, right? And typically teams like Texas A&M, who didn't have an identity in being able to out physical other teams until really about maybe 2 years ago at the earliest, you would not expect the Texas A&M to be able to walk into their house and out physical them and have LSU trying to do more option plays and other things because they were getting beat in the trenches. And that's my main concern with LSU is, yes, what we've seen in places like Colorado, skill player positions can travel very easily. It's much harder to make the trench warfare travel. And that's my main point is, yes, have they landed some big recruits? Absolutely. Do we know if they're going to work? No. Do we know if either of their schemes on either side of the ball are proven? I think offensively, you can say a Lane Kiffin offense is going to be productive if they have the right players, right? So I think the scheme on one side's good. Other side, we'll see. So that's the thing. We're talking about preseason stuff. I think you have to look at where are the most question marks, right? And with LSU compared to other teams, there's just a little more question marks. And I think that's why somewhere between the realm of 13 to 17 is a healthy spot for them because it gives them room to grow and show stuff early. But then if they fail, they're not going from like 5 to unranked in 2 weeks, right? Okay, go ahead, Bert.
Okay, I'm going to use that same logic, and I'm going to apply it to Texas A&M in that same poll.
He's been waiting for this. Okay, yeah.
And let me cook. You guys are ranked 8th, right? You said, we need to ask question marks when we're bringing in transfers, right? Okay, well, let's look at this. A&M, left tackle, transfer. Left guard, transfer. Center, okay, he's a senior, no transfer. Right guard, transfer. Right tackle, transfer. You've done your entire offensive line. You've redone it entirely, right? I get it. A&M won 10 games last year. Okay, fair.
11.
Now, granted, I think their schedule was a little weak last year. I think they were a paper tiger. I look at their schedule, and the top 2 teams they faced the entire year were Texas and Florida, and they were both losses.
But here's the thing with the –
No.
You're talking about Miami, not Florida.
Yes, Miami. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, much different.
Who went to the national championship, by the way?
Yeah.
But continue.
You lost.
Yeah, by 1 score. Yeah. So
also, okay, Marcel Reed was not the greatest decision maker last year. Agreed? When it came to throwing the ball?
I think
don't
even
think.
Let me ask this question. You're putting an unexperienced or less experienced offensive line together. Offensive lines work as a unit. You said it's difficult for offensive line transfer talent to work out. You just used that logic with LSU. I'm using that same logic with A&M. You're telling me that you're going to put you're putting together a whole new offensive line. You're putting a quarterback, like that's your protection for a quarterback who's shown in the past that he is a little wild when he throws the ball. And now you're telling me that team is 8? Plus, I look at the schedule and I'm seeing – now, this is an argument. The schedule hasn't been played. All you can go off of is what you had last year. But I get it. Mario Craver is there. Okay, fair. But let me be clear. A&M at 8 is well overranked. They are well overranked.
Then who would you – so I agree with – by the way, I agree with you on the Marcel Reed. I mean, you two both know how I am with Marcel Reed. He can have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I think the perfect example of that is the South Carolina game from last year. Had one of the worst halves I've ever seen and then had one of the best halves I've ever seen in the same game. But, I agree. I agree. Inconsistent, and it's going to be hard to transfer. the talent and the O-line, especially whenever you had most of them go to the NFL.
All I am saying is this. A&M for 2 years, even going into this poll, they have hung their hat on we only lost one SEC game last year. And you look at the schedule, it is not a competitive SEC schedule. There's really, I mean, you are playing the bottom half of the conference, guys.
Again, but here's the thing. Going in, let's take it back to how it was last preseason. About half of those teams in the SEC were ranked going into the season. Again,
do you want me to go through the schedule again? Because I will.
No, I believe
and then ask. So look, these teams are ranked. Auburn has a new coach this year. Mississippi State, I mean, I'll admit. I mean, you said it. We barely made a bowl game. Florida has a new coach. Arkansas has a new coach. LSU has a new coach. Missouri, South Carolina went 4-7.
The thing is I'm not saying our schedule. I know I'm not saying our schedule wasn't weak or weaker on the weaker end.
Yeah, that's my job. That's what I'll do in a minute.
Let me finish. It like looking at it from how competitive it was, like I get your point. But if we're talking from looking at it from the preseason of last year, half of the South Carolina was ranked 13. I know how it turned out.
I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about you're hanging your hat on the fact that you only lost a single SEC game, and you're using that to boost your poll up this year.
I'm bringing the point of like it's the preseason and things can change. It's like going into the season last year, our schedule looked terrifying, and then it played out the way that it did, right? I mean, again, South Carolina was ranked 13. Florida was ranked 15. LSU was ranked in the top 25. Mizzou was again. So looking on paper,
what are you trying to justify?
I'm trying to say how much.
Are you trying to justify your rank?
No, I'm saying again. Let me finish. I'm saying how much things can change. Again, we're in the preseason, and last preseason we were looking at A&M's schedule and saying how tough it was, and then look at what happened. So things can always change. And I understand the experience thing of Marcel Reed and then the O-line question marks, rightfully so. There's a lot of teams with O-line question marks in the SEC, right? Again, here's a perfect example. It's like I would compare LSU to Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama. And in the high expectations of trying to win year one, but fell short. They did. I don't even think they did great year one, right? So and looking at how, because we play Alabama this year, for example, I don't think Alabama's going to do crazy good, and I actually think DeBoer will get on the hot seat because of the program-rich tradition. That's a hot take. Program-rich tradition of winning.
Go into that later, but that's fine.
And you will see, like, imagine Bama it goes 8-4 this year, right? It's like, but Alabama's ranked number 11 to start the season. It's like we can only control the games that were scheduled to us and that were given to us. So that's where it's like, yes, you say we hang our hat on losing one game to Texas. Sure. But you can't knock. First off, even though he put us in a horrible situation, you can't knock Marcel Reed for bringing us back into that South Carolina game, down 30-3. That was it. Whatever. But then,
may I take over? Oh, go ahead.
Sure. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So look, there's two. Look, I'm tired of defending like a very successful season for A&M standards last year, especially when your team continues to piss the bed. But I'll continue because it's been the subject matter here. It's not that we were one play away from winning the whole daggum thing and we're going to win the whole thing this year. No, this is a new year. But if we're going to continue to piss on this whole strength of schedule thing last year, you have to look at the statistics, right? Both for before and after. We played. There were 3 teams we played that were inside the top 20 that were wins, and they were all on the road. one of them in the top 10, two of them inside the top 20, number 20 and number 19. Most importantly, you're also taking in the bias of how much you knock teams down once you beat them, right? So the key indicators for before and after are strength of schedule and strength of record. Strength of schedule preseason for A&M was 15. Strength of record, which accumulates teams' performance throughout the entirety of the year after you play them and how much you beat them by, we were still third in the nation. Okay. So look, did we have the toughest schedule? No. Were there teams that had tougher strength of schedule than this? Yeah. But in regards to with the schedule you had and how well you did overall for the regular season, we did pretty well. We were third overall in strength of record. So that's my middle ground is, did we play Pop Warner teams? No. But we had key ranked wins that all came on the road in places where people literally bet against us. Everyone bet against A&M, as they rightfully should have, to walk into places like LSU and have their season ended right then and there.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. So that's
Dame.
the thing. Now you brought up a good point. As Cole, you said that you would be in favor of either LSU's current rank or being bumped down a little bit because of all the question marks, right? And then you brought up, rightfully so, the exact weak point I was going to bring up, which is the fact that our offensive line had a crap ton of turnover because we had 4 guys try to go play pro. So for me, that's one question mark for A&M. And comparing that to LSU, which I think is a very fair, on paper-wise, talent level team to look at. What I talked about was multiple question marks, right? So for LSU, where are their question marks? Well, it's in really defensive scheme, right? They have completely new staff there. You have new trenches and you have new skill players. You have a brand new quarterback, Sam Levitt.
You redid your entire defensive line as well, but no,
hold on a second. You have guys like DJ Hicks.
A lot of those players also came up in the system
and have plenty of DJ Hicks is going to be our starter, and he was our 5th man rotating a ton. He has several sacks in his career. Like there are guys that we plug and play, and our linebacking core led by Damian Sanford, who was one of our most, if not our most productive linebacker last season, and along with our secondary as well, several guys returning there. So the defense is more of a couple things here on the defensive line, and we lost one linebacker. The rest is a repeat. Offense, with the exception of Le'Veon Moss, who'd only played about 4.5 games last season at running back, the entirety is returning, with the exception of Casey Concepcion, but you gained Isaiah Horton, who's a proven product. So with offensive skill, I'm not really worried. With Marcel Reed, I'm not worried about him either, so long as we have a run game, because most of the time when he was throwing interceptions, it's when he's having to force things because Colin Klein kind of put him in those positions. And does that mean he should have thrown interceptions? No. I do think he needs to be utilizing his legs more instead of throwing interceptions, whether that's just getting to the sideline or running more. But that's my overall thing is, are there question marks with A&M? Absolutely. Bert, you did a great job of bringing that up. My whole point is I think there's a few less question marks with someone like A&M that has, I would say, equal or potentially with their new receiving core, which is loaded between Mario Craver, Isaiah Horton, Terry Bussey, Ashton Bethel-Roman,
Aaron Gregory, Madden Williams, the new freshman.
Miles, no, not Miles.
It doesn't matter. We're loaded.
The other guy that was a 6'4" guy from Utah, he didn't even get to play last year, and he could be our true X if we need him. So loaded receiving core, loaded running back core. I'm not worried about skill at all. So that's my point, Bert. I think that's a very honest evaluation is with LSU, you have a complete coaching turnover. You have huge gaps on both sides of the ball that you're having to fill in, and a completely new quarterback. That's at least 2 to 3 more question marks than the 2 that exist with A&M, which is a new offensive coordinator and then specifically offensive trench work, because the defensive line, there's new people, but they're experienced and they're mostly within the program. They have 1 transfer. So that's my point. There's less question marks.
I disagree. I disagree completely.
Is it at least a fair evaluation? I think it's a
fair evaluation in the fact that you're saying that, okay, we've had less turnover at other position groups, but you're basically just stating it's all based off of turnover. And I look at, I have to throw in last season as some of my evaluation, right? I look at what Marcel Reed did, right? I have to look at the opponents and the equality of opponents I saw on the field last year. And I have to go and look and say that I don't think that those opponents give an accurate representation of, and again, it's a whole new season, right? I'm about to see whether that they progressed in a year or not, right?
Yeah.
If I think that they weren't as talented as their record indicated, I'm about to see a whole year's development in the offseason. But again, though, all I am basing my judgment off of is turnover and what I saw last year compared to the opponent.
So
Okay,
here's a
so
great question.
then I
Hold
can-
on, Thomas. One second. Let me cook. Here's a great question in that case. So, okay, if I give you Marcel Reed being a question mark, which for someone who was in the top 10 in his position last year in statistics, throwing for 3K. Hold on. This is a good question. If I'm nice and I just give you, okay, sure, Marcel Reed could be a question mark. And okay, now we're looking at another question mark for A&M.
You guys have already admitted that.
Thomas did. I didn't. I did not.
Cole, he is a question mark. He is a question mark.
Okay, I'm giving you the hypothetical. If you're going to call Marcel Reed a question mark, then do you also call Sam Levitt, a guy who hasn't played in the SEC?
I'm not saying that he's
a question mark.
So
that's my point. Is there's more question marks on one team than the other, and that's why LSU sits lower than A&M.
What I am saying with LSU is I think the talent outweighs A&M's.
So then,
even if they're question marks.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. I was looking at. So Sam Levitt ended up, and we can kind of wrap this up to kind of go into coaching storylines and what that looks like. But I was looking. Sam Levitt, before he got hurt for the rest of the season for Arizona State, him and Marcel Reed had almost identical completion percentage. I think turnover ratio is almost the same. They're like. Sam Levitt was like a bigger version of Marcel Reed, essentially. So my thing is, and he was playing in the Big 12, which is a more heavy air raid offense. And my thing is that, and this kind of goes to the point of LSU being question marks. Is Sam Levitt a great or a good football player? 100%. But the defenses he was playing at Arizona State are nothing compared to what you would play in the SEC. Well, again, whether it's the A&M or Georgia's or Alabama's or even Mississippi State, not even you guys have a good defense. You guys got a lot of good transfers coming into y'all's defense. So it's just it's okay. We're gonna see truly if it translates adequately to.
So here's the other part.
And that's my point. I think if you call Marcel Reed a question mark, you have to call Sam Levitt a question mark against LSU as well. And then it's a wash.
Look, I agree with you 100%. But all I'm gonna say is this, right? I had the same question marks that I had with Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. Right? I had the same question marks with all of these transfer quarterbacks that Ole Miss has been getting. But guess what? Lane Kiffin has shown that he's able to work with them and have success with them. So, yeah, I get it. It's a question mark. It's a new system for Sam Levitt. Heck, I saw Sam Levitt last year. We played him. He had a terrible game.
Yep, you beat him.
But
it was a magical night.
We beat him. It was great. It was a great night. But
believe me, it was great.
But I'm going to trust Lane on this one. And again, as we've established, as we have, he's not the coach at Ole Miss anymore. I can say whatever the hell I want about him. I think he's a great coach.
Did you go to his yoga class or something?
I do think I agree with Bert. He's a great coach, but this boils back down to the point we made is for me, I think they're too
words
high
I never thought would come out of this man's mouth.
He's not the coach at Ole Miss. I'm gonna say nice things.
I think he's too high in they're too high in the preseason poll. I think they should be a little lower just because of a lot of unproven things. That being said, going into more depth of looking at the SEC landscape, who do you guys think are possible? I know me and Bert talked about this the other day. I have an idea of.
I have multiple answers, so I'm just going to wait till the end. I'm going to let you guys go. Sure. Keep it quick, though. Keep it quick.
I think
who could fall in the SEC?
Huh?
Coaching hot seat.
What's the question?
Yeah, I'm gonna explain. So what we're looking at now is what does the coaching landscape look like in the SEC? We have a lot of new hires. You know, we have John Summerall for Florida. We have Alex Golish for Auburn. You know, we have, I think is it Will Stein? Is he the new head coach for Kentucky?
Kentucky.
You know, so there's a lot of
Red.
coaching changes. So I guess the questions that I can ask is who do you think is has the most to prove? Who do you in coinciding with that is like who's on the hottest seat in the SEC? Like what do you guys see for the coaching landscape of the SEC going into this year? Whether it's who has the most to prove, or hot seat, whatever.
Those are two questions. Let's just stick with one. Okay.
Who's on the hot seat or
who has the most to prove?
It can coincide though.
Two separate questions.
But what if the most to prove is the one on the hottest seat?
Those are not the same question.
Okay,
sure,
who's on?
but I'll answer both of them, and it's Lane Kiffin.
Go for it.
I mean,
All right.
there's no other more hostile environment with more turnover and more expectations and more talent. So if you want to flip it on the other end, if you look at someone that I think has the ability to make the most impact, if you want to put it in a more positive light, I think Alex Golish at Auburn has a really big potential to do something cool this season and get Auburn at least more in like a 7 and 8 win territory. I think what he did over at Southern Florida was really, really cool. I think he has a lot of potential that's who I wanted them to hire. So I really like that hire from Auburn. But if we're talking about who has the most pressure, but also also kind of has the most ability to, with that excel, I think it's Lane Kiffin in both of those categories of, he's on the hot seat, but he's also, he's got the most to prove because he's got to prove he can replicate what he did at Ole Miss over LSU. And I think he can. The question is, I think he really has to do it in year one, especially with just the fact that LSU is going off of multiple huge, like bringing in the freaking governor to make this deal happen. Right. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to be content with another 9 or 8 win season. I think if they don't at least make the playoff as an 11 win team or 10 win team on a fringe, that they're going to be happy. So, Bert, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but that's kind of my initial view. I think I took the easy button. That's why I kind of threw in Alex Golish on the positive side.
I think I know who Bert's going to say.
Okay.
Do you want to go first, Bert, or do you want me to go? It's not who I think.
So it's for me. It's not who anybody we discussed because I've reevaluated. So I look at the landscape and I think the easy answer for who's the most in the hot seat has got to be Shane Beamer, right? It's 4-7, dude.
Just spin a round of applause, Thomas. Give him the claps.
It's 4-7.
That's not who I was thinking. I thought he was going to go a different direction.
Well, no, that's the easy layup. But let me. Mm-hmm. So when I was thinking about this, I could have sworn one of you was going to say Shane Beamer. That's the right answer.
I didn't say anything yet.
That's the right answer. Now, the correct answer to the hot seat is Kellen DeBoer. It's DeBoer. Hands down, it's DeBoer. And here's my read on it. I told you guys when we came into the podcast, I know the SEC. I know how the people's fan bases think. I know how Alabama fans think. They only are an hour and a half away from Starkville. I know these guys, how they think. The reason why they did not hire Lane Kiffin after Nick Saban left is they thought Lane was too wild. They thought Lane was going to come in and all this discipline and all this just controlling culture that Nick Saban had at Alabama was just going to be completely torn apart under Lane Kiffin. And so that's why they went out and thought Kellen DeBoer might be the better option. Okay. Well, Kellen DeBoer has come in there and essentially done the same exact thing. It is a completely undisciplined team. I mean, you saw that against Indiana, right? I was expecting the Alabama of old would come out that second half against Indiana and been, all right, let's go play ball. But no, they rolled over. Alabama is making dumb mistakes that Mississippi State should be making, not Alabama. Alabama fans are losing their mind about Kellen DeBoer. And here's the other part about it too. Like Alabama their fan base wants them to be talked about as the dominant force in the SEC. And
Yeah.
right now, let's put it this way. I'm talking more positively about Georgia. I'm talking more positively about Texas. I'm talking more positively about LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Those teams I put above Alabama.
By the way, he said,
Let me cook. Let me cook.
and I'm
All
saying
of-
he mentioned Ole Miss too. So
He
again,
said, "Let him cook."
So
Let me
So he's
cook.
on something right now.
Okay. The fact of the matter is this, guys. Alabama cannot handle not being the big dick in the locker room, and they are not. They're not right now. Are they not? They have to be the big swinging dick in the SEC, and they're not.
I think also
And here's the thing though. It's not necessarily that they made they still made the playoff last year. They made the playoff last year, but it was more just how it happened, how they got beat, and it leaves a bad taste in the mouth of Alabama. And here's the other part too. Here, let me flip over here. So offensively, they only return Ryan Williams.
Yeah, and they lost Isaiah Horton.
And they've lost a lot. And
they lost
the
Tyson
schedule,
soon.
And,
the schedule
here's
is
the other
not
thing here's
so
the other key thing, Bert. This was an Alabama team last year that couldn't run the freaking football to save their lives,
correct.
right? Complete
Correct.
opposite identity as someone who has been the victim of many games to where a Nick Saban team came in and averaged 4.5 yards per carry and made us look like a daggone Pop Warner team, completely against their identity.
So here's the thing when it comes to college football, it's all about expectations, right? Yep. Expectations for fan bases, and can coaching staffs deliver upon those expectations? And what I see right now is this. I see Alabama is not the same Alabama as of old. Alabama fans don't like that. They don't like what they see on the field. They don't see the success that they want. The last national championship they won was in 2020. They're seeing a lot of other SEC schools rise up and start taking over the king of the ring kind of in the conference. The expectation for Alabama is that they get back that slot. Yep. And I don't think Kellen DeBoer is willing or is capable of getting back to that position.
I would agree. That was actually going to be my hot seat. I thought you were going to go.
That's where you were going.
No, I thought you were going to go the Josh Heupel route. But
hey, I left that door open for you. But I agree with Josh Heupel too.
But I'll kind of. It's so funny. I'm going to give the reasoning that we talked about behind closed doors to why I think it's Heupel. But to the DeBoer thing, again, you can just see the culture change from the way they just play the game. They're super undisciplined, unorganized. They can't run the ball. It's just really sad. And it's like this is where I think Alabama fans, you kind of touched on this, Bert. When you hear, oh, we're playing Alabama, this fear typically just sits on you. But now it's like,
oh yeah, whatever.
We're playing Alabama, cool. And again, it's like you in your top tier teams, and this is going to pain me to say this, but Bert's inspired me. You have your upper echelon teams. You have Georgia and you have Texas, right? Then I know, Cole, let's be realistic here. You have Georgia and Texas.
This is an honesty space.
You have Georgia and Texas. And then below that, it's freaking the Wild West. You have Bama, LSU, A&M, freaking Tennessee. Who else? Ole Miss. I said LSU. But right there, just
Oklahoma.
6 teams just rattled off that quickly in that A tier.
And that's not including Florida or Auburn.
Exactly.
Traditionally really good teams.
So you see how Alabama used to be in that S tier. Now they're just one of the guys that, again, it's you don't whenever you think of, and this is where for A&M, again, got to be a little bit biased to talk about A&M's perspectives. Like, whenever we go into Tuscaloosa, I'm not as worried as I would be like under Saban, like a couple of years ago. Like, in all honesty, it's like, I mean, they're going to throw the ball a lot. I mean, great. But like, I'm not worried. It would be a close game. I'm not saying we're going to dog walk them or anything, but that's the level that Alabama has sank to under DeBoer, and it's really sad because DeBoer he doesn't wear the pants in that place. I mean, you saw his introductory press conference a couple years ago saying, "Nick Saban, this place will always be your home. I'll always welcome you and listen."
Nick
to
Saban
you.
is up in the fucking rafters of the stadium, still watching over him.
Yeah, dude, like.
He's got a trained sniper at DeBoer at all times. Just like
it's just
if they go to a 500 record, DeBoer like Saban just goes, take him down.
I do think, hot take, you could maybe see, and by the way, it's beyond me that dude was even considered for the Michigan job. That like
he would have. Dude, hey,
there would have been
he should have taken that.
Exactly, like
it would have been easy out.
It's beyond me because what has he done at Alabama? What has he done at Alabama in his time there? I would argue that Mike Elko, because I believe Elko and DeBoer were hired at the same time, like 2 years. I would argue that Elko has had more success in the 2 years he's been at A&M than freaking DeBoer at Alabama.
If you go in regular season,
no, I'm just saying in general.
No. Yeah.
Hey, can I say something?
Hold on, Bert. I'll beat you to the punch.
No. Kalen DeBoer actually won a playoff game.
That's what I was getting to. Yes, he beat Oklahoma. Now, granted, we were playing freaking number 2 Miami, and we would not have been if we had just taken care of freaking business against TU. That's life, though. Stuff happens.
But here's the thing: in 2 years, you've seen the improvement from A&M to where Alabama's just here. If anything, they're more regressing because a lot of the players that they
see the vision now. Yep. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you see A&M is trending in the right direction, even though we still made the playoff, right? If anything, we hosted the playoff game. So, which, again, wins and losses.
Guys.
But let me finish.
Yeah.
Again, in the 2 years, I would argue Mike Elko would be more successful than DeBoer. Not to discredit DeBoer, but the thing is that I just don't see Bama improving this year. I see them either staying the same or taking it down, especially because of the quarterback controversy. They don't even know who their quarterback is going into the season. And it's not like you have 2 studs that you're having I say this lightly, but like, for example, Austin Simmons and Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss last year. Austin Simmons was, and he's gonna be at Missouri this year. It's like he played good football until he got hurt, and then Trinidad came in and played great. You don't have that because you have Keelan Russell, who's a freshman, unproven, and then Austin Mack as well, who's I believe riding the bench. Like, so the fact that you don't know who your quarterback is not a good sign. But so I can see DeBoer suffering the same fate as James Franklin of last year. If the season doesn't get started off the way that Alabama football should be started off, I can see a early exit for DeBoer.
Hey guys,
like James Franklin.
So we've seen, and I say this as a State fan, I've seen a lot of coaches go after they played Mississippi State. I've seen it happen to Gus Malzahn. I've seen it happen to Jimbo Fisher. There's a chance where you see if Alabama were to lose to Mississippi State on October 3rd in Starkville, there's a chance. And the week before that, keep going.
Here's the thing too, is like, and I'm gonna give them their props. I would tell Bert this all the time over this offseason. Mississippi State's not bad this year. Dude, that boy Kamario.
Hey. Can we be
on paper? On paper.
Hey, can I say something?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
I barely cannot hear you.
Okay. Jeff Levy might be on my hot seat. Just FYI.
Sure, but that's
Fair.
like been every state head coach for the
But no,
last
but-
couple of years. But again, the fact now that you guys have a quarterback like Kamario Taylor.
Hey, don't talk good about my team. I like Doom. Go back to Alabama. Go back to
Wait.
Alabama.
We have to sit here and listen to
No,
you
thi-
play dictator against A&M, but we can't
No,
even
this-
compliment your team?
This
No.
supports the reason for DeBoer getting fired. This is how I'm
Go
going
ahead.
about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So to have a quarterback who's bought in, like Kamario Taylor, who has been looking good, especially in the games he played last season where he started, especially against Ole Miss, and seeing Mississippi State trying to take that step forward to where I can see them winning 7 games this year, which again is an improvement, solidifying themselves into a bowl game this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Alabama. Like, especially in Starkville, probably there's a good chance that could be a night game depending on how Mississippi State starts their season. Like, you're going to hear those annoying freaking cowbells.
Okay.
And especially
Which
for a
sound great in
quarterback.
person, by the way, as someone who got to go experience state last year with Bird. Phenomenal.
Especially
environment.
for a
Loved it.
quarterback that's not going to be as experienced.
See, I play nice, Bert. I freaking play nice. Okay, I'm honest.
Starkville,
All right.
Starkville is going to be a hard place to play
Fair
for
enough, yes.
Alabama.
But
Like,
your point is Alabama is not the same Alabama.
Exactly.
The fact that is we circle that and we can come back and say
The fact that that's a thought.
Yeah.
The fact that that's even a thought shows that he should be on the hot seat. But again, my now I have to pivot. Josh Heupel for Tennessee. Me and Bert talked about this a little bit, but it's not that he's a bad coach. I think it's more so a change of scenery and a change of culture could be in play. I mean, you see, year in, year out, Tennessee is always good.
In the mix.
But like playoff appearances,
and just losing
like-
some of the big games that would guarantee those appearances. I mean, go ahead, Bert.
it's what I said about Kalen DeBoer as well. College football is a game of expectations, right? Tennessee thinks that they are a national championship contender almost every single year. That is what their fan base believes. And in 2022, when you had Hendon Hooker and then you had Tennessee and Georgia playing this massive game to see who was going to be the top dog in the SEC, I think it gave Tennessee a false sense of we are back. We're back to 1998. And so I think the expectations when it comes to Tennessee's program is that they are going to be a national championship contender or at least be in the playoff conversation every single year. And I don't necessarily think that we're there yet.
yeah.
So we're falling into this sense of expectations are not necessarily meeting reality when it comes to
I'll tell you one thing.
the coach.
Look, Tennessee fans, I'll make a deal. Okay, I need you to do one thing, and then I'll put my neck out and say that you're going all the way to the college football playoff. Guaranteed. Lock. Do one thing. Bert, can you guess what it is?
By all means.
Any guess?
Sure.
They need to bring something back. Any guesses? Like something from 2016 that was freaking awesome? The battle at Bristol that literally set a
Okay. All right.
No,
Enough with
hold
the
on.
national.
No, hold on. Do you realize that this broke a record for in-person attendance? They had 150,000 at a college football game for them to play Virginia Tech, and it was a series they used to do called the Battle at Bristol. Why aren't they bringing it back? It was a spectacle.
Cole, remember,
to watch.
this is a
college football.
This is not about
podcast.
racing.
No.
Dude, go back. You go back and watch the film from 2016. It was one of the coolest things they ever did. It's not because there was a racetrack around it. They put stands on top of everything. It was just so massive. And there was 150,000 people there. They need to bring that back. It was one of the coolest things ever done.
If you're going to talk about racing, do it on your other podcast.
For the love of
This
God,
is a
I
college
watched that
football
when I wasn't a
podcast.
huge race
Act
fan.
like it.
I
Act
am.
like it.
If there was any other event that brought in
So-
150,000 to a stadium, I'd want it back too. It set a record.
I look at Tennessee this year, and one of the biggest question marks I see is you're bringing back 8 offensive starters. So the offense is there. But again, though,
I thought he
the
said Adolf for a
quarterback,
second there.
the quarterback is the question.
Yeah,
right?
who is their quarterback? Because Aguilar is out because he doesn't have eligibility.
So you have
Yeah, he's an accountant now.
McIntyre, George McIntyre, true freshman. Exactly. And so I look at Tennessee and I see all this offensive production coming back without a quarterback. And I'm just I just have a lot of question marks. As again, I go back to the conversation of, are expectations meeting reality? What are the expectations for Tennessee fans? Can that team live up to those expectations? Because again, I look at this schedule. Okay, you're at Georgia Tech. I don't know how that might go because Georgia Tech had a pretty good year last year. You're at Texas.
I'm pretty sure they've had a lot of players leave. Like Haynes King, I'm pretty sure graduated.
Still though, whatever.
For Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech is not
Yeah, he gone.
Georgia Tech isn't a walk in the park, is what I'm saying, for an out of conference opponent.
Correct.
You got Texas, you got Alabama, you're at Texas A&M, you play LSU, and then you're at Vanderbilt. I don't know.
Vanderbilt should be a cakewalk.
They weren't bad last year, but again, that's a whole separate conversation. But again, though, I don't know if I see enough wins in that schedule to get you to a playoff. Correct. And so when, like I said, expectations, reality.
Yeah. So when we're looking,
I don't know if that's enough there.
So in a sense, we're talking about teams that are either going to get exposed early or build momentum, right? Thomas, we outlined that earlier before the show. I think that's Tennessee is definitely a candidate for option A of getting exposed early, right? Like there's a possibility of that if they can't handle business in the first 4 games at all, right? When we look at people who can build early momentum and cement themselves for the rank they have or better, I think Oklahoma is one you really have to keep an eye on because Oklahoma, they can either cement themselves as we're going to get back in the playoff and we're better because you don't have turnover at your most important position, which is quarterback. Your defense should it's a Brent Venables defense. It should be okay, right?
You also have to remember
very good.
John Mateer was hurt at the end of last season. He rushed back from that broken hand, so throughout from. He was a Heisman front runner all the way up until he broke his hand and did not look the same the rest of the season.
Hey,
yeah. So if he's like 80% of what he was pre-injury, I know his throwing motion is reportedly changed a little bit. If he's anywhere near what he was before that, after now getting used to whatever he's dealing with now, then I think you're going to see consistency, and I think you're going to see that team do well.
Hey, Doc. So I'm going to piggyback off of what Cole said since we're talking about Oklahoma. I have Oklahoma as a soft national championship contender this year.
Yeah, I think it's dependent on how Mateer comes back.
And the reason I say that is because now don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to go undefeated in the SEC. I can see them maybe losing 2 games, but once you get into the playoffs, having basically the defense carry you, and then have just enough offensive production. You
mean 2 SEC losses, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know this, but they played Michigan to start the season. I think Michigan's going to be pretty good. I think, and I'm pretty sure they're playing in Ann Arbor. It's another year. It's another year of development for Bryce Underwood. Again, not trying to get all into the Big Ten stuff, and then you have Kyle Whitting. Is it Whittingham, the old Utah head coach that went to Michigan? I think he's going to be a pretty good coach for the Wolverines. So I can see them losing in early. It's a possibility.
Listen to this schedule for Oklahoma, though. I mean, like, it's nasty. So you got UTEP at Michigan. Then you got New Mexico. Then you're at Georgia. Then you go and you play Texas in the Red River rivalry. Kentucky at Mississippi State, South Carolina at Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M at Missouri to close the season. That's nasty.
So wait, I'll do you one better, Bert. In regards of like just a terrible schedule within the SEC, or really just in general. The number one strength of schedule in the SEC this year is Arkansas. These poor guys, they have a cakewalk against North Alabama. Okay, cool.
They
you go
need
play
it.
your JUCO, contemporary, school, whatever. Then you play Tulsa, Tennessee, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Utah, A&M, LSU, Georgia, Texas. The only big dogs you're not playing in the SEC is you're leaving out Ole Miss and you're leaving out Alabama. But outside of that, you're absolutely playing like the gauntlet. Okay.
So
Dude,
that's let me explain. So when you are the bottom team in the SEC, that's how it goes.
Do you know what's crazy?
That's how it goes.
I can see
Well,
them dropping.
It's natural because if you suck, right, then that means that if you're one of the teams that
you're
sucks,
the easy win.
there is you don't
win.
get an easy win. You don't get an
Do you
easy
know
win on
what's
the schedule.
Do you know what's even crazier about that? I can see them losing all 9 SEC games.
Yeah. And Bert, you had a good point about Oklahoma not going undefeated because they're number 2 on strength of schedule for the SEC this year, with them going UTEP, New Mexico, Kentucky, and then it starts going through the gauntlet: State, South Carolina, A&M, Ole Miss, Florida, Missouri, TU, Michigan, and then Georgia.
But it's funny how college football has changed in the fact that you can have teams like Oklahoma that have those 2 losses, just kind of how the schedule flows for the year, and they are still really good teams and national championship contenders. Like,
well,
that's
you got guys
the
like
wildest
TU
thing.
that are still going to play, Ohio State as a non-conference game, and that's still going to be the number 1 ranked non-conference game of the season in regards to strength of schedule. So you've got that in too. And then here's a good question for y'all. Do you think the 9-game conference schedule is going to help or hurt SEC team's resume? What is y'all's thought?
I think it's probably going to hurt just because it's like, again, the margin of error when it comes to getting into the playoff, even the 12-team playoff, right, is so small, especially for SEC. I mean, everyone hates the SEC because of SEC bias, right? That margin of error is so small that even at 2 losses, you could still find yourself on the outside looking in, because you have to think about it too. It's like Notre Dame as well. As much as we don't like it, because they're not in a conference, they could jip out 3-loss SEC team. Or imagine there's 3 2-loss SEC teams, right? You have 2 of them that go to the SEC championship, and one's, because of tiebreakers and stuff, is outside looking in. Like, it doesn't benefit the SEC as much because you're going to find that the records are going to reflect more towards that. Because I don't know that.
So
here's my opinion.
Ultimate here. I'll share mine real quick.
Go for it, Bert.
Ultimately, the end all say all question is going to be, how does the college football playoff look at it? If they are willing to judge another SEC loss as okay, this is a quality opponent loss, I think that's fine, but you just need to hold the other conferences to the same standard, because the issue with it is this: the bottom. We talked about it earlier. That middle pack of the SEC is just as good, if not better, than some of the top tier teams of other conferences. And I heard this debate the other day where they were saying, okay, those middle of the pack Big Ten teams, are they better than the middle of the pack SEC schools? And there's really just no question, in my opinion, about that. I think the middle, we're talking about just from an NFL talent pool. I think the middle of the SEC is still producing a lot of NFL level talent. I still think that the middle of the SEC is very talented from a national perspective. And so I look at the College Football Playoff Committee, and I've seen how they interact with SEC schedules, and I at least am encouraged with, in the past, they have acknowledged that the SEC schedule is much more difficult than other conferences. You saw that with Alabama going ahead of Florida State a couple years ago. The college football playoff has been willing to take into account the SEC schedule. So I think ultimately, I hope it helps and the fact that you're portraying to the Big Ten that you're at least willing to go and play that extra game, so that way they don't have that argument anymore, as opposed to you're scheduling a cupcake team or whatever. I hope that helps, but again though, we'll see how the playoff committee interacts with that non-SEC schedule.
So here's my overall thought. Bert, everything you just said in regards to the current status and evaluation of like mid-tier SEC teams, right? 100% true. The question I would raise is, why do we know that? The answer to that is because those mid-tier and even sometimes the low-tier SEC teams have 4 non-conference games, of which one of those is going to usually be sometimes a ranked matchup, at least for half of them. And you're going to see them go beat other, it could be an ACC, it could be a Big Ten, someone who is at least an upper echelon, maybe not the guy in one of those. It could, when we used to have the Pac-12, them too, a somewhat, good player, good team, at least in preseason rankings, in one of those other conferences, and they would beat them, right? Now, last year, we actually kind of had an anomaly where we actually had a lot more losses than we usually do. But in historic terms, you would see our midseason teams go beat some of the number 3 or 4 ranked in teams in other conferences. Like it would be ACC's number 4, or ACC's number 3, or sometimes someone's number 1. They beat them up, and then they go and get steamrolled by Alabama 4 weeks later by 45 points. And that shows you just how much of a gap from conference to conference is. So we know that because you get the sample size, right, of a bunch of other SEC teams scheduling good out-of-conference opponents, that it would help them, right? Now that you've got a guaranteed nine-game conference schedule, if I'm you're basically almost cementing that maybe outside of one good game that you're going to schedule from a non-conference opponent, so you do have some kind of a baseline compared to other conferences. You're almost telling everyone in the SEC that you have to be making it out of the SEC and betting that the college football playoff committee is going to take a disproportionate amount of SEC teams just because they're just trusting that you're good, regardless of if you're playing good teams outside in the only 3 games you have. And honestly, if I was an SEC team, I wouldn't schedule more than one actual good non-conference game, because otherwise I'm going to get burnt out with a 9-game conference schedule. There's no throwaways in the SEC anymore, especially now from the NIL deal. It's almost level the playing field more. There's no just, we have to worry about Alabama, Georgia, and then everything else is going to be like a regular day. No, freaking Vandy was a threat last year. Okay, it was weird times last year. So if I'm a head coach, why would I schedule a someone like a Clemson or a Michigan or a Florida State or some of those other teams that from year to year could be one of those upper programs we face, when I'm going to go through a gauntlet one way or another, and how much does it really help me anymore? But the problem is when we get 3 years down the road, now we're going to hear people going, well, you guys don't play anyone outside of your conference. How are we going to trust your conference is good? You have no other baseline. So I think it does 2 things. One, I think it's going to burn us out, truly, with the fact that we're adding that extra game in there of facing another really tough quality opponent. I think it's going to wear our players down more than other teams. I think one of the biggest advantages of the Big Ten last year for both their ranking purposes and also, honestly, their strength of roster, just how many guys they had left when it came down to the playoff, was they had a bunch of, the 3 good teams in the Big Ten that didn't play each other. They didn't play each other. They didn't wear each other down. So that's my closing thought is like, look, I think you're shredding your teams up, and a lot of times in the SEC that's served to their benefit because it shows them their strength of schedule, but you're taking away the data points that in the future were once the basis for why your conference is above the rest. It's going to be harder to prove that, especially if I'm a college football playoff committee guy. So if you continue to do this, you're just going to wear your teams down more, and you're going to lose those data points of saying, hey, but we played these 2 guys that were in out of our conference that were good, and these guys are currently sitting 2 and 3 in other conferences, and our team that's ranked number 7 in conference beat them by 20. You're going to lose that. You're going to have some of it. Like I said, we're going to have TU play Ohio State this year. We're going to have some of those matchups. A&M's playing Arizona State or something like that, whatever the crap. But you're going to lose it, and then what's going to happen over the next 3-4 years is it's just going to be a win your way out through into the playoff through the conference only, or you're done. right? And to some extent, that's what you're stuck with before. But you lose other resume adders that would give you the nod if you're a 10-2 team over maybe a Big Ten or an ACC. That's my point.
Yeah. So I guess kind of to wrap things up on this episode, what are the final thoughts going into finally football season?
Thank
College
God.
football season is around the
God.
corner. What
That's what I have
what
to
are we
say.
thinking? What are we thinking to wrap this episode up?
I think a potentially underrated team just in general, like one I'm really excited to see what they do. I'm really excited to see what, like I said earlier, Auburn, what they do. I think just getting above, I think plus or minus 7.5 wins is what's going to determine a good or a bad season for them. And I think it's, the plus is attainable, right, for them to bounce back and just take another step. But I think that's going to be a program that's interesting to watch. I think overrated, I don't know. I think there's like 4 different teams that are going to be classified as overrated when we get to the end of the year from just what they stumble. But compared to a lot of the teams, they would beat a lot, like the other top half of the top 25 teams any given day. It's just a matter of just how a couple of plays fall, right? Because we added this ninth conference game. So I don't know who I can call overrated. But I do think I'm very interested for a playoff team that I think is more of, it's either going to be a complete lock and we're going to know it by week 3, or it's going to be a crash and burn as Oklahoma. I'm really excited to see what they do. I think they're going to be a lock because you combine their really good defensive scheme and then potentially a healthy John Mateer. If those two things are a yes, then they're a lock in my opinion. I think they're I don't know if there's going to be a more balanced team than them that has that proven veteran product with not as much turnover. So that's my 2 cents.
So
Bert?
I'm going to go ahead and say this. As I'm going and I'm looking through these schedules, it's funny how you mentioned this whole tier thing, right? I found it really difficult to start picking games. I see Texas and Georgia clearly as the number one, like S tier. These are the 2 top dogs. And I see Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt definitely in that lower tier. Some might say Mississippi State. But we talked about it earlier as well. It's all the other teams in the conference are in that mid-tier to where anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's cliche to say, but there's a lot of truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real. Like when it comes to picking these games, it gets really difficult, and it really goes.
For example,
into,
y'all were a left tackle injury away from beating Tennessee last year. If you didn't lose your left tackle, you would have beaten them.
well,
And
like,
they almost beat
inarguable
Texas
fact.
too.
There's
Exactly.
a reason. What I'm saying is simply it. Even some of those top teams, I mean, we start looking into the playoffs and stuff like that. The top teams of that mid tier are probably going to be looking into the playoffs, but it creates good football is what I'm ultimately trying to say. And there's so much redundancy in the conference, and I think that's what separates the SEC from all the other conferences is the fact that you can go in and look at all those different teams, and you can put an argument up there to how they might win 8 games, they might win 7. It's very, very talent redundant conference is what I'm saying. And then the other thing I wanted to read out real quick is I just wanted to ask Cole what he thought about this definition. The definition of
if your question is if I think Michigan's going to flame out, my answer is yes. I think they're going to.
No, it's the definition of the word punctuality. Punctuality is the habit of arriving, completing tasks, or fulfilling obligations at the correct agreed upon time. It shows respect for other people and their schedules. It builds trust and reflects personal discipline. Yeah. Would you like to say anything?
I plead the fifth. Look, for context, I was late to my own dadgum meeting, and it was for reasons out of my control. That's all I can say.
So to wrap this up, I would say for me, my final take going into the season. So I actually don't think Auburn's going to be great offensively this year. Defensively, probably going to be pretty good. I'm not a fan of Byron Brown. I'm just going to say it. I'm not a fan of Byron Brown. Have you seen his freaking throwing motion? Homie looks like a banged up chicken trying to, flap its wing. It's slow. Is
it as
I
bad
don't
as
know.
like a Michael Kidd Gilchrist jump shot? Is it that
yes,
bad?
yes.
We're talking about
it is. Yes, it's that bad. I don't think. I think he's going to struggle a lot. Not from a size perspective, just from the SEC is so different from the American Conference. It's night and day. It's not even close. So I think he's gonna have a lot of trouble when it comes to that, and you're gonna see that reflect. And if your quarterback's having trouble, you can go ahead and say goodbye to the rest of your offense in the SEC. I'm just glad, and like Bert said, there's so much. The SEC has so much competition in there besides those lower echelon teams, because even those top, I would say like A tier, upper B tier teams can beat those S tier teams. It's not like those S tier teams are unbeatable and whatever, but
Like it used to be.
yeah, those A and upper B tier teams can still contend with those S tier teams. Just more likely than not, you're going to favor the S tier teams because of the talent and the winning and whatever. But
heck, even those the smaller school or the Kentuckies, Arkansas, and Vanderbilts can play.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you if Kentucky or Arkansas or Vandy went to like the ACC or the Big 12,
they're going to be they're going to be one of the top programs in those conferences.
Exactly. Like
maybe not the top, but one of.
No, but definitely you would probably win 8 games.
Yeah, I think our B tier teams would go to the Big Ten and sit within the top half of their conference immediately, because the Big Ten's full of a bunch of teams that the good ones get to just get passes until like the very end of the year and play 2 of their top 4 teams and just be done. That's it.
Yeah, I heard someone say that the top teams of the Big Ten are better than the top teams of the SEC. But the entirety and depth of the SEC is better than the entirety and the depth of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So
I think there's something to be said for just, a lot of the Big Ten teams, because they don't have that same crazy strength of schedule where it's just a buzzsaw for 14 weeks straight, the counting buys. Like, I think there's something to be said for the fact that they're going to be fresher when they get to come playoff time. They don't beat up on each other as much.
The take could be, instead of having the 9 SEC schedule games, you take out that extra SEC game and you pull a little bit of college basketball, and you have the ACC SEC challenge, right? You get the Big Ten SEC challenge. Do you know what I hear? Cha-ching. Do you know what that means? That means we get to settle once and for all. Better conference. It's not like the rest of these conferences really matter.
Yeah, the issue with that, though, is the ACC and the Big 12 are essentially going to become second-rate conferences at that point.
They already are.
But all right, don't get your wife out, Cole. JK.
She has no defense.
JK. But all I'm saying is this: there's a lot of pushback right now that and concerns that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to do their own thing. They're going to get away from the NCAA. And frankly, this just goes into, the NCAA doesn't have any power over anything.
You see it with Texas versus Ohio State. Again, it's a great marketing opportunity. That could be a topic for another day. But that's my take. It's going to be a good season. I'm excited. I know you guys are excited. And to be able to walk along this very treacherous and emotional roller coaster journey, I hope you guys are are geared up for.
Oh,
gonna be a
I'm not
good season.
prepared. I'm not prepared, but I'm excited. I'm gonna get my heart
Same.
broken, but
Yep.
Hey,
That's how it goes.
hey, expectations low, and anything above it is just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
That's my strategy for the season, boys.
all right, we just gotta beat Appalachian State. That's all we gotta do.
I just want to win one game. That's all I ask.
Ladies
And
and
the
gentlemen,
one
that is
game-
not what that man has ever asked for as a bar none. That is not. I want to go on the record to make sure everyone is aware this has never been the case in his life. He is delusional.
Any other final thoughts before we get out of here, fellas?
Lane Kiffin, just because you installed a hot yoga program for the local moms that you want to date does not mean that that counts as a strength and conditioning program.
All right, Cole, send us off, man.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed this. We're going to be a little more organized next time because I won't be running freaking 40 minutes late to my own meeting. So hand up. That's on me. We're going to get better. Yeah, expect a lot more consistency this season, going week to week. Yeah, for those of y'all that have any questions or things that you guys want us to cover, as always, leave it in the comments, or if you freaking know us, just message us. Put it up on our page, whatever. And hope you guys are excited for some fun coverage. More yelling and screaming at each other probably, because that's just how we roll. We're passionate. And thank y'all so much for hopping along for the ride. Appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.
Go Dogs.